The monitors flatlined, his body went cold. Everyone assumed he was gone until moments before being moved, his hand twitched. The nurse screamed, and just before slipping away forever, he gasped one name, a name no one expected. What followed turned a grieving daughter into a hunter of truth and tore open secrets meant to stay buried. Zenzi ran into the hospital's ICU, her heart pounding like a drum. Her face was wet with tears and her voice shook as she begged the nurses, "Please, just one more minute, please let me see him." They hesitated but then stepped aside. She walked slowly to her father's bedside. Obey, once full of life and laughter, now lay still, hooked to machines that beeped and blinked. The doctors had already told her he wasn't going to make it. They said the brain injury from the robbery was too serious. He hadn't woken up since they brought him in. Zenzi gently took his cold hand in hers. Her fingers trembled as she gripped it tighter. "Papa," she whispered, tears falling onto the bed, "I'm so sorry. I wasn't there. I should have come sooner. I should have done more." Her voice cracked and she pressed her forehead to his hand, hoping for a miracle, just a sign, anything. But suddenly the monitor made a long flat sound. The green line stopped moving. A nurse walked in and checked the screen, then slowly turned to the other's time of death. 3:42 p.m. The words hit Zenzi like a slap. Her knees gave way and she collapsed beside the bed, crying so hard she could barely breathe. It felt like the world had stopped. Her father hero was gone. Just like that. The pain in her chest was sharp and deep. Nothing felt real, nothing made sense. She kept holding his hand as if somehow, if she held on tight enough, he might come back. But he didn't. And in that cold, quiet room, Zenza's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. The room was quiet, filled with the heavy silence that comes after someone dies. The nurses had covered Oba Fami's body with a white sheet. They were moving slowly, getting ready to take him to the morgue. Zenzi sat in the corner, her eyes swollen from crying, still clutching the hand of the man she had just lost. Her world felt like it had ended. Then out of nowhere, something happened. Oba Femi's hand twitched. At first no one noticed, but then his fingers moved again, stronger. This time one of the nurses gasped and dropped the clipboard in her hand. "He moved," she shouted. The room suddenly filled with panic and shock. Another nurse rushed out to call the doctor. Zenzi jumped up, frozen in place, staring at her father's body in disbelief. Then his chest lifted. He was breathing barely, but he was. His eyes opened slowly, weak and heavy. They looked around the room as if searching for something or someone. Zenzi leaned in, holding his hand again, her heart racing. "Papa, can you hear me?" Obami didn't answer right away. His lips moved slightly. He was struggling. His face was pale and every breath sounded like it hurt. Then, with all the strength he had left, he whispered one name, just one word that changed everything: Lama. Zenzi froze. He looked at her with pain in his eyes. "It was Lulu Lama," he whispered again, barely a breath. His eyes welled up and then slowly they closed. This time he was really gone. No machines made noise, no more movement. Obami was dead for real, but he didn't leave in silence. He left with a name that would shake Zenza's world and start a journey no one was prepared for. Zenzi sat on the hospital bench, her hands still shaking from what she had just witnessed. Her father's last breath still echoed in her ears, but what haunted her more was the name he whispered, Lalama. It wasn't just any name, it was a name from the past, a name filled with old secrets A name she hadn't heard in years. Lalama had once been like an aunt to her, always around, smiling, laughing, bringing gifts. During holidays she was her mother's closest friend, more like a sister, and she was also Ober Femi's business partner back when her father owned a rising pharmaceutical company. Then suddenly one day everything collapsed. The company shut down, her father lost everything, and Lalama, she vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, just disappeared. Like smoke, as Zenzi sat alone, pieces of her memory started to come back. Conversations she had overheard as a child, the way her mother would quickly change the subject whenever Lulu Lama's name was mentioned, the sadness in her father's eyes whenever the past was brought up. Zenzi had always believed what she was told, that it was just a failed business and that Lalama moved abroad, but now hearing that name come from her dying father's lips, she wasn't so sure anymore. Why would he say that? Why, with his final breath, what did Lama do? Zenza's heart filled with questions and a strange new anger. Could it be that her father didn't die because of a robbery? Could it be that someone planned this, that it was murder? She knew she had to find out the truth. The next day she skipped work and went straight to her father's old study, dust covered everything, the desk, the books, the boxes untouched for years. She started going through files, pictures, anything that could help her understand every page. She flipped, felt like a step deeper into a mystery that had been hidden too long. Her father deserved justice, and Zenzi was ready to dig up whatever it took. One thing was now clear: Lalama wasn't gone. She was hiding, and Zenzi was going to find her. Zenzi stood quietly in her late father's old office. The room was dusty and cold, just like the memories it held. Cobwebs covered the corners, and the air smelled of forgotten times. This was where her father once built dreams, where ideas turned into business, and where everything began before it all fell apart. She ran her fingers over the wooden desk, trying to feel closer to him. Then her eyes landed on a drawer that was different from the rest. It was locked. Her heart beat faster. She searched around and finally found a small key hidden behind a stack of old papers. Hands shaking, she unlocked the drawer and slowly pulled it open. Inside was a pile of old letters, files, and something wrapped in a faded cloth. Zenzi sat down and carefully opened everything one by one. She read through the letters. Some were personal notes between her father and someone named Lulu Lama. They talked about big business moves, risks, and dreams of growing their pharmaceutical company. But then the letters changed. They started to sound tense, like there was trouble between them, arguments about money, about betrayal, about someone breaking promises. Among the papers she found an old photo. It showed her father, Ober Femi, standing proudly beside Lulu Lama. Behind them was a huge mansion, rich and beautiful. They looked happy, like partners who had made it to the top together. But behind the photo frame, Zenzi felt something hard taped to the back. She peeled it off and found a folded, torn document. She opened it slowly. The title read, Emergency Buyout Agreement, Witness S. Malifa. Zenza's eyes widened. What was this? Why was it hidden? Why was the paper torn? And most importantly, who was S. Malef? This name, this paper, this photo, they were all clues leading her somewhere deeper into the truth. Her father's death wasn't just a sad accident. It was tied to secrets, to lies, to something much bigger. And now the trail had begun. Zenzi didn't stop searching. The name S. Malef stayed in her mind like an unsolved riddle. After days of digging through old phone books, making calls and asking questions online. She finally found him. Co Malef, retired accountant living in a quiet, remote town far from the city. The place was peaceful, surrounded by hills and trees, but Zenza's heart was full of noise and questions. She knocked on his old wooden door and an elderly man opened it, surprised to see a young woman with tired eyes and trembling hands. Are you ESF? She asked softly. He nodded. Yes. How can I help you? Zenzi showed him the torn contract. The man's face changed. Immediately he invited her inside and, after sitting down, he let out a long sigh. I hope this day would never come, he said. Then he told her everything. Years ago her father Obami and a woman named Lu Lama were business partners. They started a small pharmaceutical company together. At first it was just an idea, but with time it grew into something huge. Their medicines saved lives and money started pouring in. They were proud, close and trusted each other, but greed crept in like a thief. Lulama wanted more. She forged documents changing ownership papers behind Ober's back. She tricked him, used fake signatures, and even changed some bank records. Sifo Malef had witnessed one of the last legal meetings before everything fell apart. That was the contract Zenzi found. When Oberfei found out the truth, he confronted her. But things turned ugly. Lulu Lama used her power, influence, and money to push him out and silence anyone who tried to speak up. Aubrey disappeared after that. For years no one heard from him. People thought he had left the country, but instead he was hiding, living a quiet life as a mechanic, ashamed, heartbroken, and afraid for his life. Sensi sat there, stunned, her eyes filled with tears. Her father hadn't failed, he had been betrayed, and Loma, she had stolen everything. But now Sensi knew the truth, and she wouldn't stop until everyone else knew it too. Zenzi came home with her heart pounding. The truth she had just heard from Mr. Mulf was too heavy to carry alone. She needed more answers, and the only person who might have them was her mother. Thando. Zenzi found her mother sitting in the kitchen quietly peeling vegetables. She stood there for a moment watching her, then said, "Mama, we need to talk now." Thando looked up and saw the fire in her daughter's eyes. She knew this day had finally come. "Tell me the truth about Dad and Lulu Lama," Zenzi said, her voice shaking. "I know everything isn't what you made it seem." Thando froze, her hands dropped the knife, and tears filled her eyes. "Zenzi, you don't understand," she whispered. "Then help me understand," Zenzi shouted. "Because I just found out Loma stole everything from Dad, and he didn't die from a robbery, Mama. He was hiding from her." Thando began to cry, her shoulders shaking. "Lama wasn't just my friend," she finally said. "She was my cousin, and before I married your father they were together. He loved her. Once I always knew something was off, even after they said they ended things. When the business collapsed, I saw how broken your father became, but he never told me the full story. He said it was too dangerous for me and for you. Zenza's heart hurt. You knew something and you said nothing. All these years I was trying to protect you." Thano cried. "I thought if we stayed quiet, if we moved on, maybe we could have peace." Zenzi looked at her mother with pain and anger. "But he died without justice. He died carrying secrets that ruined him. And now I have to clean up the mess everyone left behind." Thando wiped her tears slowly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought I was doing the right thing, but..." Zenzi had made up her mind. "I'm not staying quiet like you did. Lulu Lama has To pay, and I won't stop until she does. One quiet afternoon Zenzi was sitting by the window lost in thought when a fancy envelope arrived at the house. It was cream-colored with gold designs, the kind used for special occasions. Curious, she opened it and her heart skipped a beat. It was a wedding invitation. Loma was getting married to a powerful politician. The wedding would take place in Blythe Hills, a place known for its luxury and secrets. Zenzi couldn't believe it. After everything Loma had done, she was walking around free, celebrating life like nothing happened. Anger burned in Zenza's chest, but then an idea came to her. This wedding might be her chance to get proof, to finally expose Loma. She made a plan. She got a job with the event catering company, pretending to be just another server on the wedding day. Dressed in a black uniform with a white apron, Zenzi moved quietly through the grand hall, holding trays and pouring drinks. No one noticed her, no one looked twice. In her pocket was a tiny voice recorder, already turned on. Hours passed. Music played, people laughed, and Loma glowed in her wedding gown. But Zenzi waited, watching every move. Then outside in the garden, Zenzi saw Loma talking to a close friend, someone who looked nervous. Zenzi slowly walked closer, pretending to fix the flower arrangements nearby, and then she heard it. I never meant to kill him, Loma whispered, her voice low and shaky. I just wanted to scare him, but he wouldn't shut up. Zenzi froze, her heart pounded. She had heard it clearly, the confession, the truth. Loma had tried to scare Oberfei, but it went too far. He died because of her, and now Zenzi had it all recorded. She walked away slowly, hiding the shock on her face, gripping the recorder tightly. This wedding wasn't just a celebration anymore. It had become the beginning of Lu Lama's downfall, and Zenzi was ready to bring everything to light. Zenzi knew she couldn't do this alone. What she had was powerful, but to bring someone like Lu Lama down, she needed help. So she reached out to a well-known investigative journalist named Quayne. He had exposed corrupt people before and was known for never backing down. When Zenzi told him everything and played the voice recording from the wedding, Quena leaned back in his chair and nodded. We'll get her, he said, but we need even more proof, something undeniable. Together they came up with a plan. They would set a trap. They created a fake company, a group of rich investors who were interested in buying out Lulama's new business. It was all pretend, but it looked real. Fancy brochures, a fake office number, and even a website. Everything was set up to make it believable. They invited Loma to a private meeting in a luxury hotel suite, where the fake investors would act like they were ready to offer her millions. But the real setup was behind the walls. Hidden cameras in flower pots, under tables, and behind mirrors. Microphones were placed carefully to catch every word. Zenzi and Quayne watched from another room, holding their breath. When Loma walked in, she was confident and glowing, dressed in designer clothes. She smiled proudly and shook hands with the fake investor team. They talked for a while about business, money, and future plans. Then one of the fake investors leaned in and said, "We've heard there were complications in your past. Obstacles, how did you handle them?" Lulama laughed, swirling her wine. She was too full of herself to notice the trap. "Obstacles," she said, smiling proudly. "I removed them. That's how I survived." Even Oberfei, he was a problem. He didn't know when to keep quiet. In the other room, Zenza's heart pounded. She had finally heard it, a clear, full confession, not just a whisper this time, not an accident. Luller had admitted everything. Quain smiled. That's it, he said, we've got her. The trap had worked, and now it was only a matter of time before the whole world knew who Lula really was. In just a few days, the hidden camera video of Lulama's confessions spreads all over the internet. People everywhere are shocked. News stations play it nonstop. Social media is on fire, and hashtags demanding justice for Aubrey are trending. Everyone wants answers. Everyone wants justice because of the public pressure. The police are forced to act. They reopen Aubrey's case, this time not calling it a robbery but a possible murder. Investigators move fast. They dig into Lula's past, and what they find is worse than anyone expected. Fake documents, stolen money, hidden accounts, and now a clear confession. Just when she thinks she can escape, Loma is caught at the airport. She was trying to fly out of the country using a fake passport, but it's too late. The police arrest her right there in front of everyone. Cameras flash as she's led away in handcuffs. The proud, powerful woman from the wedding now looks terrified when the trial begins. The courtroom is packed. Journalists, family members, and even strangers who followed the story online come to watch. Lulama tries to deny everything, but the video evidence is strong. Everyone hears her own voice admitting she meant to scare Oberfemi, but things went too far. Then it's Zenza's turn to speak. She walks to the front holding a folded piece of paper. It's an old letter from her father, written years ago. With a shaky voice, she reads it out loud. Even when I am silenced, truth will find its voice through you. The courtroom goes silent. People begin to cry. Even the judge pauses for a moment, clearly moved. Finally, the sentence is given. Luller is found guilty. She's going to prison for a long time. Zenzi stands strong, tears in her eyes, knowing that her father's voice was finally heard through her. Truth had won. Justice had come. Zenzi stands quietly in front of her father's grave, the morning sun casting a soft light on the headstone. In her hands she holds the torn contract, now cleared and restored. No longer a symbol of betrayal but of truth reclaimed. Slowly she kneels down and places it gently on the ground right where his name is carved. It feels like a final offering, a message that says, I did it, Papa. I found the truth. I fought for you. There are no more heavy sobs or unanswered questions in her heart. Instead there's silence, a peaceful kind. For so long she carried pain, confusion, and guilt, but now she finally understands everything. Her father didn't just disappear into a small life for no reason. He didn't die from a simple robbery. He was betrayed, silenced, and buried under lies. But Zenzi brought light to his story. She gave him his voice back as the wind gently moves around her. Zenzi takes a deep breath and rises to her feet. She looks at the grave one last time, not with sadness but with strength. Her father's death was painful, yes, but not in vain. From his silence a louder truth was born. From his downfall a new warrior rose. Zenzi walks away slowly, her steps no longer heavy. She doesn't feel like just a daughter anymore. She is more than that now. She is a woman who uncovered dark secrets, faced powerful enemies, and stood up for justice. She is reborn like a phoenix from ashes, strong, brave, free. She walks with peace in her heart, purpose in her steps, and her father's legacy burning bright inside her. The truth has set her free, and now she's ready to live. If this story moved you, don't scroll away. Share it with someone who believes in truth, justice, and the strength of a daughter's love. Comment justice found if you believe Zenza's fight was worth it and follow for more powerful stories that remind us even in silence truth speaks. English, auto-generated.